Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on the 2025 CORSIA reporting period for EU-based aircraft operators. My name is Hannah Kellermann, and I'm Senior Advisor Aviation at the Dutch Emissions Authority. And joining me today will also be my colleague Sofie Abels, also Advisor Aviation. I'm going to be running you through your aircraft operator obligations under CORSIA in the EU. I'm going to describe the compliance cycle and highlight the important dates. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about your offsetting requirements and how to fulfill them. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the CORSIA sector growth factor, how it's calculated and how it also influences your offsetting obligations, and provide a short overview of the legal framework in the EU. And then Anne-Sophie will tell you more about CORSIA eligible fuels under CORSIA. So as an aircraft operator based in the EU, your CORSIA obligations are a little bit different than those located outside of the EU. But just as a general recap of what CORSIA is the Carbon Offsetting Reduction Scheme on International Aviation, launched by ICAO. It's a global system to monitor, report, and verify and offset aviation emissions against the 2019 benchmark of emission levels. CORSIA is implemented in the EU via various delegated and implementing acts. And for aircraft operators based in the EU, it applies to extra EU flights and flights between third countries. So EU ETS applies to intra-EU flights and CORSIA to extra EU. And we're currently in the first phase of CORSIA, running from 2024 to 2026. So the first most important date in the CORSIA compliance cycle in phase 2024 to 2026 is the annual deadline of March 31st. That's when you need to submit your verified emissions report to the NEA. Based on all of the submitted emissions figures, the NEA then submits emissions to ICAO, and ICAO then calculates the sector growth factor and publishes that by the 31st of October annually. By November 30th, we will calculate your offsetting obligations based on the sector growth factor times your CO2 emissions applicable to offsetting, so the routes that are applicable to offsetting. By November 30th of 2027, so you still have some time, the NEA will calculate your final offsetting obligation for the entire compliance phase of 2024 to 2026, and then you will fulfill your offsetting obligation by purchasing and canceling CORSIA eligible emissions units equal to your offsetting obligation. And the deadline to cancel them is January 31st, 2028. And then the 30th of April, that same year, so 30th of April 2028, you'll need to submit a verified unit cancellation report to the NEA. So how do you fulfill your offsetting requirements? First of all, the sectoral growth factor is calculated annually by ICAO, and it's based on your reported CO2 emissions of not only aircraft operators under administration of the NEA, but also aircraft operators everywhere. And the sector growth factor, it represents the growth of international aviation of CO2 emissions relative to the 2019 benchmark, and it's applied to all aircraft operators. After the sector growth factor is published, then we'll calculate your offsetting obligations with the following formula. So we take your CO2 emissions and the routes that are applicable to the offsetting obligation times the sector growth factor, and that's how we get to your offsetting obligation. If you use CORSIA eligible fuels, here noted as CEF, you can reduce your offsetting obligation for the entire compliance cycle. And then what's left is you still need to purchase and cancel CORSIA eligible emissions units to fulfill your offsetting obligation. So the 2024 CORSIA sector growth factor was published last week, the 31st of October, 2025, for the 2024 reporting period. And this is quite a significant year, as 2024 is the first year that we see growth from the 2019 benchmark. In all previous years, the sector growth factor was 0, resulting in 0 offsetting obligations of aircraft operators. But this year, or in 2024, for the first time, we see growth from the sector, which results in the first year of actually having an offsetting obligation. So the NEA will notify aircraft operators of their 2024 offsetting obligation by the 30th of November. In this overview, you see the various implementing and delegated regulations applicable to the CORSIA implementation in the EU. The calculation of offsetting requirements is a delegated regulation which is most important for the competent authority because it outlines how we need to calculate aircraft operators' offsetting obligations. One of the more crucial delegated regulations is the recent delegated regulation published in the summer of 2025. It's the new monitoring, reporting, and verification for CORSIA, which outlines your monitoring and reporting obligations under CORSIA, but also the detailed obligations for reporting CORSIA eligible fuels, which we will tell you more about later on in this presentation. And also, it's important to note that each year a new list of states is published, and the list of states is important for applying the correct scope of routes which are applicable to offsetting. So please take note of the most recent published list of states for 2025. And lastly, the last delegated regulation that we're waiting on is on the detailed eligibility requirements of units to be used by aircraft operators based in the EU. And those are the units which are allowed to be used by aircraft operators based in the EU to actually fulfill your offsetting obligations. And the expectation was that the delegated regulation would be available in Q1 of 2025, but it has unfortunately been delayed. But we will share more information on this as it becomes available. And this legal framework is also available on our website on the link provided underneath the slide. Thank you very much. That was the first portion of today's webinar. And now I'm going to hand the floor over to my colleague Sofie, who is going to tell you more about CORSIA eligible fuels.
Thank you, Hannah. Today I will talk shortly on the use of CORSIA eligible fuels. CORSIA eligible fuels are aviation fuels certified as CORSIA eligible fuel by different sustainability schemes. This can be ICC, RSB, or Class NK SCS. These sustainability schemes are also listed in the delegated regulation, which has been published this year. ICC CORSIA is not the same as ICC EU. ICC EU is a certification scheme that follows the criteria listed in the Renewable Energy Directive, and ICC CORSIA, for example, follows the lines of the CORSIA legal framework. CORSIA eligible fuels can be used to reduce your offsetting obligation. And as I told before, the monitoring and reporting rules are outlined in the delegated regulation that has been published this year. It's possible to certify a certain batch of alternative aviation fuel under different schemes. So you can certify a batch under ICC EU, for example, which is then certified under red criteria, but also for ICC CORSIA. If you then report the alternative aviation fuels under EU ETS, proportionately, you can then use the portion you have not used for your EU ETS reporting for your CORSIA reporting. If you want to report CORSIA eligible fuels, please make sure to update your monitoring plan using the latest templates and fill in section 9 of the plan, monitoring of CORSIA eligible fuels claims, and include the following procedures listed on the screen. Submit your updated monitoring plan through the digital ETS reporting tool. Additionally, you need to hand in some required documentation to the verifier. These are fuel purchase records, transaction records, fuel blending reports, and the CORSIA eligible fuel certification, which demonstrates the sustainability of the CORSIA eligible fuel. Additionally, you need to hand in a list of mandatory or voluntary GHG reduction schemes that you participate in, and you need to include, together with your annual emissions report, a list with supplementary information which can be found in Annex 2 of the delegated regulation. This is quite an extensive list. I will not go through it, but as you can see, in order to report CORSIA eligible fuels and to claim your reduce and offsetting obligation, you need to hand in quite some more information compared to EU ETS. Then for the reporting of CORSIA eligible fuels, you first need to determine the total amount of CORSIA eligible fuels used and fill in your emission report the following criteria. Thank you for your attention. We wish you good luck on your year-end reporting, and please reach out to us if you have any other questions. Goodbye.